Okay, very good. Okay, welcome everybody to the September meeting of the PRC. This is going to be more of a meet and greet, I think, today than anything. Not a lot to cover. All right. We have some regrets. Kyle and Stefan and Brendan. Brendan is tied up employment-wise for a couple of months. So he's going to be, and as diligent as Brendan is, he's going to be watching the videos and making contributions while he can't physically attend, so good for him. So that's who we've heard from who can't be here. Otherwise, we've circulated the agenda and the minutes. So can I have a motion to accept the agenda? Howard, second. John, all in favor? And likewise, the minutes for June 13th, our last meeting. Thank you to Peter for those. Mover, seconder. Okay. Thank you very much.
We should switch. Make John the mover and me the seconder.
That's fine. Yeah.
I'll arm wrestle you.
Peter will do that when he records the minutes for next month. Richard is here. He's coming. Hang on. He's just connecting. There we go. Hi, Richard.
Hi.
Good. And I didn't say hello to Andrea earlier. Andrea's here, so hello.
Hi.
Yeah.
Hi,
Oh,
Andrea.
very nice. Okay, guys. So, and here's Peter's coming back in. All right. So, for the purposes of today, I don't have a lot in the news or announcements. I mean, we always follow Howard's exceptional weekly overview. But are there any particular items of interest that we think we should bring to the floor of the PRC today?
Miles, do we have anything? Is anything? I mean, Parliament starts up within what, a week?
On the 18th.
So, do we have anything that is going to need our immediate attention before any of the standing committees?
We don't have any briefs right at the moment that we intend to present to a committee, whatever committee that may be. So the answer to that would be, I don't think so. Unless anybody else can think of anything. I'm going to attend, and actually this is relative to the PRC or to the CCGA, because when Harry Laforme had his meetings to provide a report for a Miscarriage of Justice Commission, I appeared and consulted on that on behalf of the CCGA and myself, because as a function of the book I had written on compensation for wrongful convictions. And so I expect to appear before the committee this fall with respect to Bill C-40, which is in our agenda, to create an actual Miscarriage of Justice Commission. So I'll be attending to try to persuade them that there should be a compensation element in the legislation and available to the commission for the purposes of those who apply for relief. So I'll be doing that. So to answer your question, Matthew, that's tangentially related to the CCGA. So I will definitely report back on how that goes. Presuming, of course, I get
Miles, I don't wish to interrupt you, but do you want to make a CCJA brief and present it?
I can do that. I mean,
I mean, to me, it would be your choice.
Yeah, it's not a bad idea. I would have been preparing something to submit in advance in any event. So yes, I can do that.
Because I think, Miles, that you would have the support of the PRC.
Well, then again, we'll do it. We'll go through the routine. So I'll prepare it. I'll submit it to the PRC, circulate it, take comments, and then whatever comes of that, we'll put it before the board and see how it goes.
Right.
But thank you, Matthew, for the idea and prompting me to do that. I'm going to have to get on that pretty quickly. I'm in the middle of teaching, obviously, so the time's of the essence. So I'll have to move on that sooner rather than later. But thank you.
Well, Irving can help me here. Our late president, John, who passed away in British Columbia, can help me with the last name, Irving.
John Braithwaite, you mean?
Yes,
Braithwaite.
John Braithwaite,
Yeah.
with whom I
Right.
had numerous wonderful conversations, always believed that we need to get up in front of Parliament on Parliament Hill as much as possible.
That's correct.
Sure, understandable. Andrea, you had your hand up?
No.
Oh, you don't? That's my little hand, my little cursor. Sorry with that. Howard, please.
My recollection is we discussed the bill before and supported it in some way, shape, or form. And the real question was how long it would take for the bill. This is on the actual creation of the wrongful commission,
Right.
wrongful conviction commission that we supported the concept some time ago. In fact, we've urged the government to get on with it. One of the real questions is whether there's money involved, not for compensation, but for creating a commission that would do the job. The federal government has a habit of creating these things and underfunding it and effectively tying their hands behind their back. But Miles, would your brief be on the creation of the commission or on the separate issue of compensation for wrongfully convicted?
It'd be specifically on compensation. Yeah, you're quite right. The CCGA already, and during the committee hearings, I promoted obviously the CCGA's position that we support the creation of the commission itself, which is going to be called the Miscarriage of Justice Review Commission. So we're already on record in that regard. And then at the hearing, I also, because what happened was that when the report was generated by Justice Laforme and Westmoreland Traore, they adopted my commission model into the recommendations, which was gratifying. And so the next step going forward, and it's not in the bill now, is and it's now at second reading. The opportunities now to have them take that one step further and propose a federal, it would be an FPT statute essentially for compensation across the country. And the argument, of course, is that of course anybody who's wrongly convicted and spends any time incarcerated, and many people do, their lives are destroyed financially for all intents and purposes. They've lost their job, they've lost wherever they were living, they've probably lost whatever vehicles they had and what have you. And so the bill does have some allowance for initial payment to get on your feet kind of thing. That's at least that's proposed. But a compensation model, the way I proposed it, and it's based upon many other statutes, primarily in the States, is that there should be a yearly sum fixed, and I propose $75,000 for every year of incarceration as a way of compensation. And again, the committee was quite receptive to that model, and they asked me to provide them with an actual mock-up of a statute, which was easy enough for me to do because I have one in my book. So having said that, the argument, of course, is that we've had some very, very large, we've had 25 actual payments to the wrongly convicted over the years, and some of them are, Milgard 10 million, and some of them, and Stephen Truscott 6 million, and Mullins Johnson 4.25 million. Some of these have been very, very large, and they've been a function to a great degree of public inquiries, and we're not going to have any more public inquiries into wrongful convictions anymore because we know what causes them. Everybody knows what causes them now, and everybody knows what's required to basically try to stop them taking place. They know what the proactive prophylactic measures would be to hopefully put an end to wrongful convictions, but that's never going to happen because people are human and people make mistakes, and usually it's the cops and sometimes the Crown. So the argument is that without a model for compensation, those people who are wrongly convicted and eventually exonerated, their only recourse is to sue either the cops or the Crown, right? And that's litigation, and that's money that they don't certainly have to pursue the litigation, and they can make an application under the FPT guidelines for compensation. And again, 25 of those have been made over the last 30 years, but that's less than one a year. And there's hundreds, if not thousands, of people a year who are wrongly convicted in Canada. So anyway, the argument is going to be is that replace the FPT Commission for Compensation with a statutory scheme. and have a fixed fixed annual payment based on the number of years incarcerated, which is pretty much seen as the most fair model to look to, and see what they say. I mean, it's a long shot. You know, it's not in the bill as it stands now, so it would be an amendment. So the chances of it being successful are probably on the pretty low side, but I feel compelled to at least put it before them. So that's what I'm going to try to do. Okay, but thank you. And Matthew, thank you for the suggestion. I will produce some kind of a brief for circulation sooner rather than later. Good. All right, guys, any other items in the news that we want to address? It's hard.
Not so much news, but I just thought I'd mention I'm taking on 2 pro bono law students again this fall, through the fall and the winter term. I've asked to have the 2 students we had last year again this year, particularly Taylor, who was working on a draft brief on coercive and controlling behavior as a precursor to intimate partner and domestic violence. So if I can have her back again this year, we'll try and finalize that brief that she started on. That was quite well done. The whole concept of coercive and controlling behavior as a forerunner of intimate partner violence is much in the news these days with research and academic studies. There's a piece in the newsletter last week, but also the new Minister of Justice had announced that he is open to following the committee's report, Justice Committee's report, and criminalizing this in some way, although there are some real concerns about that, extending criminalization and how one defines the behavior and finding objective indicia of the behavior. But at any rate, if we can get Taylor back, she can do some more work on that. And Becky was working on the overlap between bail and unrepresented accused and indigeneity. And so both of those would be worth pursuing. But I will let you know. I haven't heard from the students yet. It takes usually late September, early October before they start to get rolling. But if people have ideas for topics they think are important for CCJA, if we don't have those 2 students back, then I'd certainly be open to suggesting those to the students. But we try and get them involved on something that's legal in nature, but also topical and of interest, particularly to CCJA. So give that some thought. John, you've given me some wonderful suggestions in the past. Mull that over, and the whole area of trafficking in persons is also quite a topical area with a bill before Parliament that's actually pretty close to passing now. So anyway, I just wanted to note that for people's consideration.
Thanks, Art. Good stuff. The one item I do have in the news is back to Peter with respect to the Alberta government's attempt for an Alberta police service. Has that been abandoned?
It sort of is and it isn't. It's, well, depending upon, in fact, I was speaking to the minister this past week. There was a summit for the Calgary Police Commission that he was speaking at. Got to meet him there. They're trying to beef up more money going into policing, primarily at the sheriff's level, and then also hiring 50 new police officers in each of the cities. So that's become the new focus right now to deal with urban crime and social disorder. It's not totally off the books. There is some talk about a new police academy for Alberta that is possibly coming out. So it's on the books, but it's quietly pushed to one side at the moment for political expediency. I think that is probably the easiest way of saying that.
Okay, Peter. So I mean, the agenda shows that a brief's being prepared. I presume.
Yeah, I've actually got most of it all written.
Okay.
It's actually waiting for the final piece. I ended up going through the inquiry in Nova Scotia because of the final recommendations there, because my paper hadn't covered that part of it. So yeah, it's a work in progress, but it's almost done compared to not started yet.
Okay, very good. Thank you. All right, guys. Anything else for news announcements or updates? Okay, next under business arising, this is where we usually have the reports of the parliamentary committees. There wouldn't be any updates for those at this point. There will be for next month, I presume. All right, and of the items that are listed here under business arising, take us down to item E. This is John's brief with respect to the National Consultation on Human Trafficking. John kindly gave me a copy of the brief. Maybe I'd seen it before, and I apologize if I had, but I circulated it to everybody in the last few days. John, do you want to say a few words about this? Sound. John, we still can't hear you. There we
I guess
go.
I muted it. Thanks, Peter. Thanks. Yeah, no, it's I was just saying that I apologize. I thought I had submitted it a number of months earlier, but anyways, it's with you now. And when you have a chance, if anybody has a chance to look at it, have any questions, be happy to answer it. I think the outcome is pretty straightforward. Is saying yes, Canada is complying reasonably well with the protocols, but there are ongoing gaps, and those gaps are not unique to Canada. They're rather universal. And sort of, I think I've added it in the, but if anybody is particularly interested, I think I added it in the brief as well, is that I'm in the process, or we're in the process of having a special issue published by the Journal of Human Trafficking, which takes the brief a couple steps further and takes a rather harsh look, critical look at the situation in Canada, because as presented in the brief, we are considered a tier 1 country, which means that we are largely in compliance with the UN protocol and its 4 pillars. But when we scratch the surface, it isn't all that it appears to be. But again, I qualify that by saying that looking at, I just got back from meetings in Europe around this similar issue, is that we are not unique in that regard. But at least, as again is reflected in the brief, is Canada at least regularly reviews our standing there. And I can't say is that most tier 1 countries follow up with that. It's not a legal requirement, but it's a request on behalf of being a signatory member of the UN protocol.
Thank you, John. Any questions for John?
Do we want to get back to John for the next meeting?
Regarding
your brief?
Sure, yeah, and you're welcome. If you have any questions or in whatever format, feel free to just email me as well, and then I might help us consolidate. If there's particular questions or comments, then we can utilize the time more effectively.
Fair enough. So what I'll simply do on the agenda is change it from waiting brief to responses, and that's what will show up on next month's meeting, and we'll see if we have any.
Anything great? Thank you.
Sure, that's great. All right. Moving down the list. So the next active item is mine, I guess. It's the proposal for discussion seeking provincial support for including criminal records as a ground for discrimination in human rights codes, and following up on Howard's recommendation that this should be best dealt with by the Uniform Law Conference of Canada. He kindly gave me a contact at that organization to basically indicate that we had something for them to take a look at, and I made that contact, and I received a response indicating that the lawyer in the group who handles new endeavors kind of thing will be getting back to us. So it's a wait and see kind of thing, and I'll follow. That was about a week ago, so I'll follow up with it to make sure the response is coming. But that's where that stands. So hopefully we'll get some instruction on how to properly put this before this organization and move it forward. Very good. I don't have anything else with respect to business arising. Kyle isn't here, so there's nothing further on the Stats Can report on Indigenous and racialized identities. Kyle also gave us a an article that I circulated, a link to it the past couple of days, but again, Kyle's not here. So if anybody wants to discuss it, you're welcome to. Otherwise, Parliament doesn't sit for another week, so we won't have any updates on any bills until next month. Does anyone have anything else for the good of the PRC to discuss? Yes, Matthew.
I have a question for Irving, and it's an administrative question. It has to do with what is the status of our funding applications to the Minister of Public Safety? What does that look like? And are you searching for another assistant, a student assistant, or what have you, to support office functions?
Is that two questions?
Yes.
Our sustaining funding changed a few years ago from every 3 years to every 5. So we're going into, well, we are in year 3, I believe. When this new 5-year cycle began, they added some recipients. So the pot of money available for public safety has not changed. So basically we lost about 10% of our funding. And we've been managing with that, like I said, for the last 3 years. In terms of office assistant, I had a summer student who will continue on a part-time basis during his poli-sci law classes, which started yesterday.
Great. Okay. Thanks, Matthew. Thanks, Irving. Anything else, guys? Phyllis, Andrea, gentlemen? All right. Thank you very much. And we will see you next month.
Take care.
now.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Cheers.